guess what? We have merch now. If you'd like to support the channel, make sure to check out the links in the description box. Now on to the video. Welcome back to the You Want Pizzazz channel. Today, you're going to be learning how to create 3 beautiful logo designs in Adobe Photoshop. And it is pretty easy to do. All you need to do to get started is to download these 2 fonts, Rostilla and Montserrat. You can find the links to those fonts in the description below. Once you've done that, let's go ahead and open up Photoshop. Now, if you only want to learn one of these logo designs, make sure to click the timecodes in the description. I'll also put them on the screen here, but for now, I'm going to get started with logo design 1. So I'm going to go to my type tool here and then click it. And then I'm going to search for the Rostilla font, Rostilla regular. And then I'm going to click on screen and I'm going to type in my initials, SG for Sarah Grace. I don't know why I chose this name, I just thought it was a pretty name. So if I want to make this bigger, I'm going to have to highlight it. I'm going to just hit Command A to highlight the text. And then I'm going to just drag this up to make this bigger. You want it to be pretty big. Hit that check mark when you're done. Now, if you want to move this text around, with the layer selected, hit Command T on your keyboard and then just click and drag. And then you can also make it bigger by dragging these corners here. So I'm just going to center it on the screen, just like that. Hit that check mark. Once you are happy with the size, we're going to actually rasterize this layer. And we can do that by right-clicking it and hitting Rasterize Type. The reason we're doing that is that we are going to make a little cutout in between, and we cannot do that with a text layer. We can only do that with a regular layer. So go ahead and click your selection tool. You want it to be a rectangle. And then with the layer selected, we're going to make a little mark inside. I think around here. If you want to move your selection, hit the space bar. If you want to move it around, I'm going to do something like this. And then I'm going to hit the delete button. To deselect, I'm going to hit Command D. So we've already got a strong start. So now we want to split these into 2 parts, the first part and the second part. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the layer by right-clicking and hitting Duplicate Layer. And I'm going to call this layer Top, and I'm going to call this layer Bottom. So I'm going to set it so just the top layer is being shown right now. I'm going to select it, and then with my selection tool, I'm going to select and delete the bottom layer. Now, I'm going to hide the top layer, click the bottom layer, and then I'm going to delete the top layer. So basically, we're making a separate top and bottom layer. We can show both of them now at the same time, but the great thing is that we can now easily separate the 2 layers. I'm going to click the bottom layer, hit Command T, and just drag this down. I'm going to just use my downward arrow to just bring it down a little bit. So we just want to make a little gap. We're going to adjust this later. Now with our text tool selected, we're going to search for the Montserrat font. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I'm doing my best, folks, I promise you. We're going to go with a medium, and then we're going to click, write Sarah Grace in all caps. We're going to highlight and just bring it down. Nice. Again, to move it around, I'm going to hit Command T and just move it to the center here. I'm going to make it a little smaller. Center it in between the letters. You can also adjust the separation between the letters. We can do that by clicking and highlighting. And then under the character panel, we're just going to separate it a bit. So I'm just going to play around with this. I'm going to play around with the size. I'm going to play around with the distance between the letters. All right, and beautiful. That is done. I'm really happy with how that looks. I'm going to click and hold down Shift on the layers to just select all 3 of these layers, and I'm going to group them together. That will be logo 1. And if I want to just move them all together, I can actually select the folder and hit Command T and just resize it and center it on screen to wherever I want. And then that's logo 1, folks. Let's move on to logo 2. We're gonna start the same. We're going to change it to the Rostilla font. We're gonna type SG on the keyboard. We're gonna bring her up. And we're going to just move the characters together so that the S and the G are touching here. Cool. So I'm gonna just make it bigger. Command T, just move it on screen here. So now we're gonna add Sarah Grace in a different font that kind of goes in a bit of an arc here. We're going to hover over the rectangle tool. We're gonna click down and hold, and we're gonna click the ellipses tool. With Shift selected, click and drag to create a perfect circle, and I'm just going to put it over like this. Your letters will align with the circle, so just keep that in mind when you're creating it. I think something like this will be nice. And then I'm just going to change the opacity of this ellipses to 0 because I don't really need to see it. With the ellipses selected, we're going to click the type tool. And then we're gonna hover over the circle until we see this little weird dotted line here. We're gonna start around here. I'm gonna click it. And then, oh, what is that? That is a giant font right there. So let's just bring her down here. Okay, that's fine. And then I'm going to make it the Montserrat font. We're gonna go with a semi-bold this time. Even this is a pretty cool effect. You can play around with it. If you want the full circle effect, we can do that, but I only want a tiny bit of the circle here. I'm going to delete, and I'm gonna type, again, our girl, Sarah Grace. I'm gonna highlight and then just separate the characters a little more, but not too much. You can move this around in a number of ways. I'm gonna start off by just clicking right at the beginning here and then hitting my space bar. Just something like that. Honestly, that's pretty cute just the way it is. But another way to make little tweaks is to click the Sarah Grace text and to hit Command T and then to just shift this little circle a little bit because it's a perfect circle. It'll do a perfect rotation. The only thing is that there's like a huge delay, so you have to click the check mark in order to see where it ends up, which is pretty annoying, I'm not gonna lie, but it is what it is. You know, you do what you can do. I'm gonna see what it looks like bringing in these characters a little more. This is just gonna be you fiddling around until you're happy with it. Ah, nice. All right, I'm happy with that. So again, we're going to just group it together by clicking the first layer, holding down Shift, and then selecting all 3 of these layers. I'm gonna make a group, call this Logo 2. And then a final center on screen. We can select the logo and hit Command T and just move her on screen. I actually might go in and delete this ellipses because we don't really need it. And then try again. That might give us a better precision here. And there we go, Logo 2 done. Let's move on to Logo 3. I'm going to go ahead and hide Logo 2, and then we're going to start again from scratch. We're going to have the Rostilla font selected here. We're going to click on screen. Of course, it's really big, and I'm just going to bring this down. And we're going to start off by writing the full name, Sarah Grace. I'm just going to bring this on the center of the screen here. And then I'm just gonna move these characters in a little bit so that all the letters are kind of connected here. We're gonna make another text layer with the Montserrat font. We're gonna go with medium, click on screen here. Who is Sarah Grace? What does she do? I say she is a designer. I'm gonna type in designer in all caps. And I'm gonna bring it down. I'm gonna center it on screen here. And then I'm actually going to increase the spacing between the characters. Something like that is cute. All right, and now we're gonna make a little box. So we're gonna hover over this tool and we wanna put it back into the rectangle tool. Make sure your fill is set to nothing and that your stroke is set to a black or the same color as your font here. And we're gonna go with, let's say 3 pixels here. I'm gonna click and drag to make a rectangle. So if you wanna move it around, you can click the space bar and hold it down to just move it around. You can always adjust this later, but this just will save you some time, I think. And you want the line to be right in the middle of your second text layer. Something like that. So let's look at how that is looking. That is looking pretty nice. Something I should warn you about is that your designer second text layer is not going to be 100% centered on screen because you've added spacing to it. So there's like an extra space here. So what I'm going to do is hit Command T and I'm going to just slide her over to the right a bit. I want to make sure that it is centered on screen because trust me, that's going to save you time later. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to duplicate this rectangle by right-clicking and hitting Duplicate Layer. This is just going to be a safety in case you hate what you did with the rectangle. So I'm going to hide the rectangle below it. And then I'm going to take this top rectangle layer, right-click, rasterize it. So again, as we learned in Logo 1, you cannot make selections and delete things unless it is a regular layer, which is why we've rasterized it. So we're gonna go over to our selection tool here and we're gonna just zoom in and then click and drag over this designer box. We want it to be even on both sides and then delete. Again, like what we did with the last 2 logos, we're gonna hold down Shift, select all the layers and then group her together. We're gonna make this logo 3 and then we're gonna hit Command T to just select the whole thing and then just make sure that she is centered on screen. And then we have 3 beautiful logos. So you're probably asking, how do I export these beautiful logos? Well, here is what you have to do. So I'm gonna take logo 1. You want to hide the background layer because you want it to be on a transparent layer so that you can put the logo on any background. We're going to hit Command-Shift-S on our keyboard and that should activate the save settings. I'm just going to save it as logo 1 on my computer. I'm just going to save it to my desktop for now. I'm going to hit Save a Copy. And then we're going to change the format to a PNG. Logo 1, save, okay, boom, Sarah Grace logo done. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, folks. We've got Premiere Pro tutorials, After Effects tutorials, and Photoshop tutorials. So if you are interested in that and you're digging that, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. I hope you have a fantastic day, folks, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!